you. For Kathy, I have a question. I've been reading in the book of Nehemiah and Ezekiel and all these, and I sit there and go, should I really just skim the names of the genealogy like I've been wanting to do? Or being the good DAR person I am, going to read the word in each one and think, nah, that was important to the people of those times. Why do I care now?
Well, and I guess I think that that's a question that we ask now because we have read what Peter Enns has to say about genealogies and how important they are. We would not have had that question, would we?
No, so I'm
Some
behaving
time ago.
carefully.
And I think what I'm
Hey, we know you're skipping them.
Sharon, what?
I said Peter Enns would say, we know you're skipping them.
Yeah, he would say that. We know, Anne, you're skipping over.
Well, the one that was a whole chapter long. Come
Yeah.
on. That's
But
as
I
bad
think
as my
what's
friends.
what's changed for me is maybe skimming is okay, but to not dismiss
Right.
those genealogies, to hear him say these are important. They're there because they're important. And it seems to me like they connect us in ways that we newly appreciate because we have learned um, how important it is to stay connected to the past and to continue to be reminded of the nature of these ancient stories.
Sorry, folks, I'm going to have to head over to the clinic.
See ya.
Next week.
So
I'll listen to your.
So I think I think that's what's changed for me.
Well, and if we're skipping over these because they're not important to us personally, why wouldn't we skip over the genealogies in Matthew?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what has changed for me so much is the genealogies are not there to just take up ink. They're there to show us something very important that we need to know about these ancient stories. And go ahead.
It reminds us of the value of connection, that we are a community and that we do our work of maintaining hope and all that sort of thing it's a community effort,
Yep.
and that makes it possible.
Yeah. I mean, at the very, very least, those continue to remind us how connected we are. And that what happens now is not new and not different. I mean, I had a friend text me yesterday morning early. Clearly, he couldn't sleep. So I had talked in our last conversation. We had talked a little bit about where we find hope, and he texted me yesterday, clearly in a spot where he wasn't finding it. He was searching, and was reaching out to me because I'd said those words, right, about how and where we find hope. And one of the things I think is true for us is that we think problems can be solved in our generation or very shortly. I mean, we're so short-minded. And I know that many of us have said the changes that have been made in government right now even if we vote this party out of office, will take decades to repair.
Yeah.
And that is all true. And where do we find hope? We find it in the patterns. We find it in Heather Cox Richardson, who keeps reminding us that we've seen this before, and that we got ourselves out of it. I think we see it, and I think that's part of what our sacred story says to us. Look at people. You've been here before. These kinds of things have happened. You've let some of these kinds of things happen. These things have happened. And the pattern shows us when you that recovery and hope and new life will happen again. Probably not as soon as we'd like.
Mhm.
I think
I
that
would commend a book to all of you. It's called Mother Emanuel, the 2 centuries of race, resistance, and forgiveness in one Charleston church. And it hangs its hat on the story of Mother Emanuel Church and the 9 people who were slaughtered there by Dylan Roof.
What's it called again?
Mother Emanuel, 2
Okay.
centuries of race, resistance, and forgiveness in one Charleston church. And
Okay.
the author, interestingly enough, is Kevin Sack. I didn't know him before. He's a journalist, and he's shared 2 Pulitzer Prizes with other journalists. And he's white and Jewish. And he's written this book that really is about the history of the Black church in America, told through the history of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And it's remarkable and really speaks to the patterns
yeah.
of the life of these people who started the church, the Black church. The AME church is the 2nd largest church after the Baptist church. So, and is of course now suffering the same thing as all other kinds of churches, but it was a really remarkable story and really so well written.
Would you,
So,
I know, you'll put that
I'm-
in the email, won't you?
Okay,
That would be
Sure.
really great if you just put
Great.
the information in the email.
That would be great.
I would like that.
Sounds like that would be a really good book to add to our church library.
It does.
And maybe I could ask you to, Sharon, to write a review of it.
You probably
and
already
that-
have you?
There are some spectacular reviews online, and
Oh,
I can
that
put
would-
the links to those.
Yeah, but that would be a good way to bring your church and our church together.
That's a good idea, Catherine.
I reviewed the
Doesn't have to
audio
be.
book,
Oh,
which
can-
if
you
you
can
like
find
to
a-
listen,
you can find all of Sharon's reviewed dozens of audiobooks. She's got a whole, what would you call it, page on audio file.
oh well, you can't. I don't think you can get to my reviews on audiophile, but
No.
you can in Goodreads.
Oh yeah, you got Goodreads. That's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah.
And I know it's owned by the evil empire, but I do not have the energy to switch it over to something else.
How do we
Good
reset?
morning. I finally made it on.
Hello.
Hi, Jane. Good to see ya.
I was just about to tell everybody that we wouldn't see you this morning.
I figured it out. I lost Google and I don't know how.
But now you found Google, another part of the evil empire.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Zoom, what was the answer to one of my I play connections every morning, from the New York Times, and one of the connections was four different pieces of the evil empire: Google and Zoom and Photoshop and one I didn't know about. So anyway, speaking of the patterns, I think that's where we find ourselves in this this huge epic saga that we are reading here in Genesis. So we're looking at chapters 23 and 24 and 25 in Genesis, beginning with Sarah's death. I'm fascinated. He doesn't really, Peter Enns and Jared don't really talk much about it, except kind of I don't know, geography, a little geography in there. But I was fascinated by the conversation around the burial ground that Sarah was old, of course, and she died in Canaan. And Abraham says that I'm a stranger and an alien residing among you. Give me property among you for a burying place so that I may bury my dead out of my sight. Interesting. And none of us will withhold you from any burial ground. Abraham rose and bowed to the Hittites, the people of the land. If you are willing, I should bury my dead. I find that just incredibly fascinating, this whole conversation about Abraham burying his dead in an alien land.
I have an interesting note on verse 11.
Okay.
The field I grant you, and the cave that is in it, I grant it to you in full view of my kinfolk. I grant it to you. Bury your dead. And it says the field, as Myers Sternberg shrewdly notes, Abraham had wanted to buy only the cave at the far end of the field. And so Ephron's seemingly generosity in throwing the unrequested field into the bargain is a ploy for demanding an exorbitant price.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw the same thing, that he was taken advantage of. But the other thing is that this is the land God has promised them in the future, and this is the first time that the Jewish or the Israelites have actually owned
Exactly.
a piece of it.
Yeah, not just been given something as a gift as part of somebody's existing real estate, like a renter or a leasee. You now own this.
So what part does that play in?
I think it talks about the constant struggle that's there, even in the background during times of tragedy when people are reaching out to help. There's still that discord.
I don't know. Is it saying something too about the land, about ownership, about
I think so.
Yeah.
where the Israelites belong? I don't know.
It's really interesting because, for many, many hundreds of years, Jews in the European diaspora were not allowed to own any land.
Hmm.
Do you know why that is? Because of the
I
relationship with Israel and Jerusalem, and that's the only land on which they belong?
I really,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Well,
I think because then maybe they would belong there,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
people didn't want them to belong there.
right. Right.
And they didn't want Jews to be rich and powerful, so they excluded them from many professions.
Right. You couldn't own land, you couldn't really
Yeah.
farm. Um,
You needed to stay marginal.
Mhm.
But from what is that
so they
from the
made them money lenders.
yeah.
Yeah, like that was going to work out well for them.
Was that the dominant culture saying that to Jews, you can't own land, you can't do this, you can't do that? It wasn't the Jewish, for lack of a better word, culture saying to its own people in the diaspora, you cannot own land. Okay, that makes a difference for me. Huh.
it's sort of similar to what has happened in the United States when we didn't allow certain people to vote.
Yeah.
Well, and we didn't allow them to vote based on owning land, right? That
And
that
again, same thing. It kept people marginalized.
yeah.
And truthfully, as much as we lift up the founding fathers, the whole idea behind the Constitution was that people like us, wealthy white landowners, are the ones. I mean, that's the bit behind the electoral college too.
Yeah.
That, the landed gentry
Yeah.
are the ones who get to make this big decision, not the hoi polloi.
Yeah.
So
Which is
the pattern.
well, the pattern, and which is what some want to return to when we talk about let's return and make great
Yes.
again. That is what
Mhm.
the return to is pushing again to the margins those who are not wanted to make decisions.
Interesting that that's how we would describe a populist movement.
Well, yeah.
Say more. David,
Well,
picture.
I'm just, populist. You would think that a populist movement would be about the people, the hoi polloi, the everyday people, and saying, we, the people are going to be powerful. But then we're kind of saying, but then we're describing that the heart of the Make America Great Again is about harking back to a time when the special people were in charge.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So it's kind of contradictory.
It is. It is. And is it continue to be part of the pattern we see, the human pattern we see that those may be in power, maybe not, but taking power is about granting to a particular group of people the rights to govern other people, to hold power over rather than to empower. And we see that over and over again. We see, and then we see humanity being able to break out of that. I mean, this, although not perfect, this great American democracy has held for 250 years. Um,
248 and a half.
we're counting the days. Yeah. And yeah, can it continue? It has faced challenges and I mean I am one to believe that the people, the ordinary people, um, uh, can rise up and hang on to democracy. That might be
Look
my
at the ordinary people. They were the ones, by and large, who died for the lost cause.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously, some landed gentry did as well, and they went to war because, and I think this happens to all of us, they had relatively little. They worked really hard for the relatively little they had, but they were better than those who were enslaved.
Mhm.
And I think it's that need to be better than
Hmm.
that always gets us in trouble. And I think that's what's happening now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it clearly is what's happening now. And is that what happens in our sacred story? I mean, is that what happens over and over again? I mean, we haven't come to the two kingdoms story yet, but I mean, the two that story to me is all about not only do we want to be like all the others, we want to be ruled by kings, but we can do it better than anybody else too. And what does that result in? And, you know,
Nothing good.
nothing good. Nothing good happens there.
But that's the whole outlook of of Abraham and all the people, that God says, I will make of you a nation. You will be blessed. You will be special. So, they're getting set apart from other people and set apart from other people. You're special.
But do you think part of that is misunderstanding what that means, what being God's special people means? That again, our human flaw, I mean, I think our human flaw is constant and consistent. It is that we want to be like God. In fact, we want to be God. We want to be the ones. And so rather than that, um, uh, that God's people are um, um, a community of people who care for one another and you know all of that, instead a community of people that is better than others. Go ahead, Sharon.
Well, I think that's what happened,
Yeah.
is that, God set the Israelites apart, but what God meant was that this means you follow these 613 commandments,
Yeah.
and that will make you good people. And they thought, hey, we're special. We get to do,
Whatever we
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, they also, I mean, the whole point was that then they would be a light to other nations, to other peoples, and become the attractor
Yeah.
that are, and I think that's the same message that we have as a Christian church, that
Well,
we're to be a light.
I think that, I mean, it may show a way to live, but it was never, who knows what God meant. But to Jewish people, it never meant making others like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is not a religion that
No,
proselytizes at all.
I understand the division, but I do think it says I'd have to pull the Strongs.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I do think it is said, you will be a light
Yeah.
to the other nations.
By your example, by
Right.
your adherence to all of these rules and laws that are created to make you better people. Not, I mean, so the dark side of that, because in everything there's a light side and a dark side. And the dark side of that is then you have to be like us, but we don't have to really follow the rules, right? Yeah. So I
But
mean,
if we really followed those 613 rules, we would be better people.
well, and if we adhered to the commandment, love God, love your neighbor, feed people, free people, again, rather than having to nail the 10 Commandments up in the bathroom at the public school, that, I mean, that's what happens, right? Specialness gets perverted.
By ego.
By ego. And what is ego? I mean, and that's the thing that I keep coming back to. What is that? It is that deep desire we have to be God, to be in control, to be the caller of the shots, to create others in our image, I mean, all of the dark side of human choice.
It seems to me, I'm thinking about parallels to like human development or child development. Like an important early lesson is that I am important, I am unique, I am loved. And, and then I'm part of a family, we love each other. And then there's other lessons to be learned after that. But that's kind of a foundation. And even as you learn to be generous and part of a broader community and stuff, you retain the idea that I am loved. God loves me. I'm important. And that's healthy.
Yes.
As long as you take those next steps.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what some that gets forgotten is that God loves me, God loves us, God, we are created in God's image, and our response to that overflowing love is to love our neighbor. And so that takes, of course, we all know this, that takes all sorts and kinds of forms. We all love our neighbors in all sorts and kinds of different ways. We do. But I think that's what maybe the ultimate, for me, the ultimate sin is when that comes back on itself and it isn't that it becomes well, let's make God in our image, and this is what that looks like. Yeah, and we don't ever move into, as individuals or communities or culture, we don't ever move to the next place, which is loving our neighbor.
Well, I mean, and that's part of the contradiction of the Bible, is that God says this. I mean, that's the most important, loving God and treating others as you wish to be treated is the centrality of those commandments. And then God tells them to wipe out the people who are in Canaan so they can live there. Did they make that part up?
I wonder.
And if they made that part up, what else did they make up? Is this whole thing made up? You know,
Mhm.
it's really, it's weird.
So that, I mean, I think that's what Peter Enns addresses in the other book. What does the Bible really say? Again, I keep getting the name of that one wrong. But that every story needs to be considered, I think, an iteration of wisdom. Every story is, I mean, where is the wisdom, and where does that spur humanity? Where does that spur humanity to the new place, the next place?
Well, and I think I've told you this, that I can't remember his name, but he is the first Reform rabbi to be, I think, in the Knesset, but don't hold me to that. And he was giving the sermon at Central Synagogue, and what he talked about was God's injunction to destroy Amalek because of the great wickedness of those people, but not to become Amalek.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, to me, Netanyahu has definitely become Amalek. He's wicked and power hungry. I can sort of understand the people who are, you know, the very ultra Orthodox Jews. I can sort of see where they're coming from, but I think they've allowed themselves to fall down a very dark hole. I mean, and this is just my interpretation, not anybody else's, that we have underestimated the influence of the Holocaust.
Mm.
And I think
In what way?
that's it, enough, we've had it. The hell with the rest of you. And I don't think everybody feels that way, but I think it was after all those years, thousands of years of being kicked out and oppressed and whatever, the Holocaust was perhaps the last straw.
So the event, the catalyst, that is to say, we're not going to take it anymore, and we will go to whatever ends we must.
Yeah, I think there is some of that. I mean, when you hear some of the people talk, and you think, well, how on earth could they say things like this? Gazans are
The
people.
never again.
Palestinians are people.
Yeah.
Then you realize that what they're maybe really saying is, so are we, and we're not going to let you destroy us anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I could be making this all up, but it seems that way to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't think that's Netanyahu's driving force. I think he's a power-hungry Ganef, which is kind of a thief, a bad guy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, on another note,
Yes.
I looked at this book I have called Peculiar Treasures by Frederick Buechner. And it's a biblical who's who of just little short little things about different people in the Bible. So I read the part about Sarah,
Oh, good.
and it was interesting what he brought up about her. He says, quantitatively speaking, you don't find all that much laughter in the Bible, but qualitatively, there's nothing quite like it to be found anywhere else. There are a couple of chapters in the book of Genesis that positively shake with it. And then he takes that a little further and talks about laughter is what the Psalms are talking about, where they say, when the Lord had rescued Zion, that our mouth was filled with laughter. Or where they get so excited, they yell out, let the floods clap their hands, let the hills sing for joy together. It's what the Lord himself is talking about when he says that on the day he laid the cornerstone of the earth, quote, the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. It's what Jesus means when he stands in that crowd of cripples and loners and oddballs and factory rejects and says, blessed are you that weep now, for you shall laugh.
Mm.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah. 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 I mean, for the role Sarah plays, she doesn't get much print. And I, I mean, I have always, whether it's legitimate or not, always held Sarah up as a character who sort of was I mean, it's Sarah whose body had to be opened, right? I mean, that's the way the language and the concept work, that Sarah is barren. This isn't Abraham's problem, it's Sarah's problem. And with that barrenness, true or not true, that doesn't matter. That's the way the story is that Sarah is barren. And in order for Sarah to have a child so that Isaac can be or so that Abraham can be the father of nations, God has to open Sarah's womb. And to that, Sarah laughs, right? That, I mean, and I find that's the, whatever I think about culturally, part of that story, is that to God's face, Sarah laughs. And that's, a bit of levity that I think that is so important in this, that Sarah is the mother of nations. And
Yeah, you don't hear that.
no, yeah.
And yet Abraham gets all the print.
Exactly. And Abraham gets all the print.
And going forward, Isaac, I mean, from what we read for today,
Yes.
it struck me for the first time that Isaac is like a placeholder.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Rebecca is the one who moves the story forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is all we hear about her.
Oh.
No.
Isaac never got the counseling that he needed after the event on the mountain. And so he's just a little reluctant. Stays in the background where it's safe.
Isaac lives a life informed by trauma. Oh my. Yeah.
It's always puzzled me why Ishmael wasn't honored.
Yeah.
He was the firstborn. And that they're always talking firstborns.
Yeah, but she wasn't a Jew, was she? Hagar?
He
He
wasn't.
was an
He
Egyptian.
was
She was
Egyptian.
an Egyptian. So as far as the story goes, she was illegitimate. Ishmael was illegitimate. I mean, in the end, God said there will be
A nation from Israel, yes.
Ishmael will have that issue too. But yeah.
It seems to me the Arabs pick up on Ishmael a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
he's like the Abraham of the Muslims.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And it
they
is
have,
there.
yeah. Muslims have a lot of stories about what happened to Hagar and Ishmael after they got kicked out, by the evil Sarah, and that they had to spend their time living in the desert, and Abraham was still a loving father and would come and visit them as often as he could, and there's a whole lot, and of course, Ishmael was the father of of Islam, and I don't know if that means, I'm not sure if that means Arabs or Muslims. I'm a little fuzzy on that. But anyway, they were sort of like the key founding family and were deeply loved by Father Abraham.
And sometimes today, I'd really like to ask God, what were you thinking?
What?
What were you thinking? Because of the conflict between Muslims and Christians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the story of Rebecca is really so beautifully well told. And she seems like such a gentle person. And,
But she
she
gets what she wants.
Yeah.
she goes to the water and draws this water for the camp for the Isaac and for the camels, or for the servant and for the camels. And then when they say, they called Rebecca and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" She said, "I will."
She
It's this
reminds me a little bit of Ruth.
really beautiful story. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Lots of parallels with Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Laban.
And there's Laban.
I mean, to me, Laban in this part is a little bit, we'll see what he's like with Jacob, because, oh yeah, he agrees to the marriage, but then the next day it's, oh, can't she stay another 10 days?
Yeah.
10 seems to be his number, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I have a question. It seems to me in this particular part, there's a lot of like matrilineal stuff that that the genealogy is kind of from the mother. And I know, am I correct, Sharon? I think I've read that some Israelite parts were matrilineal. Am I right on that?
Well, you're Jewish if your mother was Jewish.
Maybe that's where I get it.
One person told me that Judaism is matriarchal and patrilocal. So your father determines your tribe, and your mother determines whether or not you are a person of, a member of the community.
Sounds logical.
Well, that's like, there's an Asian American rabbi who she's the senior rabbi at Central Synagogue, which is like the second largest synagogue in New York and very old synagogue. And when her mother is Korean and her father is American and Jewish. And she was raised Jewish, she and her sister. And she felt a calling to the rabbinate and she went to Israel, where she was told, "You're not even Jewish." You know, and when she came back, she felt so badly that she said to her Korean Buddhist mother, I'm just not going to do any of this anymore. I'm not going to be Jewish anymore. If they don't think I'm Jewish, I'm not going to be Jewish. And her mother said, "Do you really think you can do that?" And she realized she couldn't. And so she went through the conversion in Israel just so that she could. I mean, I think it's weird, but she wrote a memoir that's coming out soon, and I'm anxious to read it because I think she's a very interesting person. But yeah, I mean, and as she says, her mother always loved Judaism. So she said, she understands not proselytizing, but why did nobody ever invite her mother to join up, you know, not just visit?
That's a fascinating question, you know, because I wonder about that. I know of people who have started attending synagogue because they're attracted, and eventually decide to convert. And yeah, was that something they had to kind of pursue on their own, or did
Well, it depends what synagogue they go to, you know, which one of because like, you know, here where they're talking about the fact that Abraham's servant had to go back to where he came from so that Isaac wouldn't marry what now we'd call outside of the faith. Only Reform will do weddings for inter-religious couples.
Okay.
No rabbi in either the Orthodox or conservative movement will marry a couple where both parties are not Jewish.
Yeah, no proselytizing there. No.
Well, I mean, and I gather it's only relatively recently, I mean, not like in the last year or two, but maybe in the last couple of decades that Reform rabbis will do this on the theory that if you won't marry this couple, then you really are pushing them away from being Jewish and raising Jewish children. And here I am. You know, so they are right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, I do want to acknowledge the first piece of chapter 25, because after all this, we have Abraham struggling, you know, to have Isaac, who is going to be the father of nations. And then we have Abraham, who marries another wife, and she bears him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, and this whole other genealogy. And nobody says anything about that.
Well, but it's a repeat. He sends those sons away.
And he leaves them nothing.
Right. So it's a repeat of Ishmael.
Yeah. I just, it's, yeah, again. What is this again?
That's hard to understand.
Yeah, yeah, it is hard to understand. I mean, yeah, part of what they knew, what Abraham knew, the cultural value for the first son who comes from the wife and not the concubine, and all of those sorts of things, and yet you have all of these other children bearing other children. And then we come to well, we have Ishmael's descendants. That's at the very beginning here, and then our fabulous story about the twins again, or the brothers anyway. After Cain and Abel, now we have Jacob and Esau. So that's where we begin again next time. Is there anything else about these couple of chapters, 23, 24, 25 at the beginning?
26 is interesting. I started reading it last night.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Bible,
Genesis chapter
26.
26. Yeah. We get all sorts of new stuff happening now in 26. Again, Enns and his partner A.S. remind us in their writing that the point remains the same, either intentionally or unintentionally. Israel's ancient stories were written down for later audiences. So there's a reflection of later realities that we keep getting reminded of. Genesis provides ample evidence that this book was written long after the setting for its stories.
I love their make Jesus a pale Renaissance European.
Or what?
I love their comment. This is another make Jesus a pale Renaissance European moment.
Yeah. That constantly happens.
Yeah, we always. I'm sorry, Avis.
No, you have the floor. I don't have anything to say. I'm just listening.
Oh, well, I was just thinking about how what Kathy said earlier, we are always striving to make God in our image instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, and I think today one of the things that I so appreciate, and I've recently said this, are that we have the opportunity to see a vast array of artistic representations that are from all sorts of cultures, and that's wonderful to see. And that the more that we can immerse ourselves and our children in that sort of color rainbow of artistic understanding of who Jesus is and who these people are in these stories, the better off I think we are. And I don't I mean, in my entire faith formation career, I have been able to experience that, but I think that that is just so incredibly important when we're talking about teaching and forming people, that at least we can. There's others out there in the world that claim to be Christians that would never pick up any of the. Have you all looked at the Modern Saints? There's a woman who draws icons, and she calls them the Modern Saints, and some of them are disturbing. They're absolutely fabulous images of her renderings of what saints might look like. And then there's the other icon writer, Kelly Lattimore.
I've seen those.
Yes, those are fabulous. I have a couple of those on my walls. You've seen some of those, I think, in different capacities. And that's just icon writing. Then there's the artistic representations from different cultural viewpoints.
What are we going to do for next week?
The Benedictine, who does John, what's John's last name?
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
Thank you.
John, last name starts with a G. He's Benedictine, I think. And he's done amazing Native American representations. So all of those kinds of things put together, I think, are really wonderful for us to be able to see ourselves and to introduce people in our lives too. Yeah. Okay. So chapter 10, Genesis 25 through 35, 10 chapters, but there you go. A lot of stuff happening in that. Okay.
All right.
Try to get to it before Thursday morning.
What's Thursday morning?
I always leave this till the last minute.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
You are not alone.
Why
Don't
can't I read?
procrastinate.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.